Hello, hello. Welcome back to Let's Talk H.P. Lovecraft. Finally getting back to doing these reviews. It's been a little while. I decided to take a few days of break from the video creation, personally, because I recorded just about every day in December, getting a little bit burnt out, and Jeremiah's been sending me a lot of new stuff, so the channel has been anything but quiet. But now I am back at it as well, so we're looking at putting up a huge number of new videos this year. We're already well on our way. Just, what are we, 8 days into the year? Last year we did over 600 videos. I think we can top that again in 2019. So, H.P. Lovecraft. Today's short story is The Doom That Came to Sarnath, published in 1920 in the Scot, an amateur press. And it is, of course, part of Lovecraft's dream cycle, a part of his work that I'm just now starting to experience through a handful of stories, but it's something that I'm liking more and more as I encounter these tales. So, The Doom That Came to Sarnath takes place in this dream world. Thousands of years ago, a group of people come and colonize the banks of the River I in the land of Nar. Yeah, a lot of interesting names in this one. These people, they rise to power, conquer a lot of the adjacent lands, and eventually settle along a lake where they're not alone because there's a much, much older culture already well established in the city of Ib, which is a sort of a gray stone city as it's described. And they decide that because they don't like these people, they find them to be sort of hideous and uncouth and primitive, that they are going to conquer them. And when they do it very, very cruelly. They kill everyone in the city. They push their bodies into the lake, and they're so disgusted by the sight of these beings, these people, that they actually use their spears to push them. And then they tear down their city stone by stone and throw that into the lake as well. And then they've established their own city called Sarnath on the other part of the lake. Sarnath, over the next 1,000 years, grows to prominence. It's conquered many of the adjacent lands. Those lands are now subject to them, and they've established this incredibly robust, decadent empire. And on the 1,000th year of their reign, I gotta backtrack here a second. At the end of their invasion of the city of Ib, they do take this stone idol out of the city and put it on display as a trophy in their own city. And that idol is of Bakrug, who is called the Great Water Lizard. He is the god of these so-called ugly and primitive beings whose history says that they descended from the moon. After their conquest, they have this feast, and they've taken this idol back. But that very night, the priest of the city, Sarnath, is found dead, murdered, and the idol is missing, and the only information they have, the only lead, is the word doom inscrawled on the throne. Okay, so then, 1,000 years later, during a feast, when Sarnath is at the height of its power, it's become this huge, epic, beautiful city. Sort of a mist rises out of the lake, the water level rises, and people looking in from the outside see none of the inhabitants anymore, and rather they see these sort of fishy, primitive beings from Ib having returned 1,000 years later from their grave, or maybe have redescended from the moon where they were said to originally have come from. And of course, the odd green stone idol itself has returned, and the story sort of fades out to black. It is a fairly simple story, not a whole lot of plot going on. Mainly, you get a little information about this conquest, and then a lot of stuff in the middle about the conquest of Sarnath, and then just the last 2 paragraphs or so tell you that these beings have returned and that they've gotten their revenge on the people of Sarnath. I really like it. It's very basic in its construction, but it's also interesting because it is completely fantasy. He's dropping all of these different names of places and peoples and beings and lands and rivers and cities. And we don't know what any of these things are. You know, we have no real clue to them other than a few brief descriptions, but yet they all feel organically real. They feel like they exist, and he manages to pull this off in just a few pages. And this is the kind of world building that most authors take volumes and volumes and volumes of epic fantasy to achieve, but he does it in a very efficient way here, and for my money it's some of Lovecraft's very best prose writing. And then just I think he's at his best doing this type of writing. I know everybody loves the Cthulhu Mythos, which are primarily set in our world, and I think the problem with that is his sort of heavy-handed opinions, or known opinions, believed opinions about race and class. They seem heavy-handed, and they seem bad. They seem foul by our 2019 standards. Every time somebody is described as being a fish man, you feel about racism and stuff like that. But because this is completely in the fictional world, I think it's something that everyone can relate to, which is the fear that we have for change, and for even for people who are different than us. We were taught to be tolerant, but of course, when you encounter something new, something that is strange to you, you always feel that sort of oddness in your gut. The fear that you're intolerant, but also the knowledge that things that you've always known have changed or are changing, and change is frightening to everybody, no matter how tolerant they believe themselves to be. I think we feel that more these days than we actually say. Most of us are smart enough to keep our mouth shut when you feel inklings of prejudice in the back of your mind. And I think that type of message is better received when Lovecraft is operating in this dream world or in a completely fantastic place, as opposed to doing a lot of his stuff that is supposedly set in places like New England and occasionally out west or in Florida. There's a few places that he visits, but mainly it's New England, Boston, and of course his fictional towns, Dunwich, Innsmouth, and places like that. So, hey guys, it's a pleasing little story despite its short length. I think I got into the world in just a few quick pages. It would have been a blast to have spent like an entire novel length period of time in that universe. So I'm looking forward to checking out some of the other dream cycle material from H.P. Lovecraft, but this is a very, very good addition to the complete H.P. Lovecraft, which I am continuing day by day to explore and to talk to you about here on Let's Talk. So thank you for tuning in. Please give this video a thumbs up, and of course subscribe to our channel and help us grow, because we need your support. Alright guys, talk to you again soon.